sources that we have discussed, like structured, unstructured, application oriented, and legacy data. Yeah? So that's what we have talked. Yeah? Now we need to start getting into what other types, like for example we have what application oriented type. We just focused on what this particular structure type only. Yeah, like by talking about like what we have files, XML, Excel sheet, or relational tables. Yeah, so that is what was discussed over here. Yeah, so now the next thing is what we need to start getting into other types, which is going to be, let us say, what application oriented type. Yeah, so that's where what this particular examples, like we have SAP systems. Yeah, I repeat, we have SAP, we have PeopleSoft, we have MRP systems or ERP systems, yeah, and CBEL, yeah, and so on. So we have what different predefined applications. Yeah. So once we have it, we need to know how to take care of what reading the data from these what sources. Yeah. So that's what we need to do. What in order to take care of reading the data from what sources, which is going to be what unstructured or whatever, right? Sorry, application oriented. Yeah. So where we have what, let us say, in order to read the data from these applications, then we need to have what plugins or packs. I repeat, we need to have what plugins or packs or some other utilities which need to be what installed, through which we could able to talk to these applications and start reading the data from these applications. Yeah? I repeat, in order to read the data from these applications, we need to install either plugin, packs, or utilities. Once we do that, then we could able to start reading the data from these well-defined applications. Yeah? So that is what we need to do to take care of reading the data from these apps. For example, let us say you want to read the data from what PeopleSoft. Yeah. Now, what do we need to do? We need to install PeopleSoft plugin. Once we do that, from any tool like ETL or whatever, we need to go through with a plugin, then talk to what PeopleSoft. Once we do that, we could able to pull the data from PeopleSoft to what MDM entry point through ETL or some other tool. So that's what we do in order to what start reading the data from what sources. Source data is what application. So similarly, we can think of what other applications like ERP, MRP, and SAP, CBEL, and so on, right? For each of them, we need to start what taking care of this installing plugins or corresponding plugins and start reading the data from there. That's it. Yeah? So say concept is same for all these application oriented sources. And then third is going to be what we have legacy. I repeat, third type is going to be what? Legacy data. For example, if you get data like from mainframes or thinking machines or any other legacy systems, right? So how are we going to read or get the data from such sources? So that's where again within our ETL or some other tool, what do we need to have? We need to have a way to connect to mainframe and start getting that particular data converted to MDM understandable format. Yeah. So this is what, or this is where third-party tools would come in, where we can convert what external source system data to what MDM understandable form. Yeah. So this is going to be the starting point of MDM. Similarly, we did not talk about one more type, which is going to be what? Unstructured data. For example, if you want to read data from PDF documents, Word documents, or emails or whatever, right? Then the next step is going to be what we need to know, like how to read data from these kind of sources. Yeah? So that's where what unstructured type would come in, because if you take a PDF document, right, where you will have what simple text, which means what simple line or whatever, and then complex text with multiple lines or whatever, paragraphs with many, and then embedded links, yeah, or let's say embedded images, or let us say embedded icons or whatever, right? So which means what this document is a collection of several types. So how are we going to read such kind of data? So that is where what do we need to do? We need to convert this kind of data to what? MDM understandable format. Again, we are going to make use of third-party tool through which we need to convert this unstructured data to what to the structured data, which will be understood by what? MDM. So that's where what this conversion is mandatory. Clear, right? Which means what? We need to start conversion of n number of different types within this unstructured category to what? To MDM understandable format, which is going to be the structured type. To do that, we can take help from what? Third-party tools like B2B data exchange or any other third-party tool. Yeah? So that's what we need to do in order to take care of reading the data from several types. So we talked about structured with different examples, unstructured with example, application oriented with example, legacy with example. Yeah? So this is going to be the what starting point for what? To read the data from sources. Any questions? Ultimately, what do we do here? We are trying to read the data from several types, from any number of sources. That's it. Yeah? So which means, just to summarize, the third-party tool comes in over here to read the data from sources to starting point of MDM hub. That's it. Yeah? Fine. So that can happen in one of the three modes, like a real-time or batch mode or near real-time mode. So we can use one of these modes in order to what read data from source to landing tables. Remember, MDM Hub, it supports only two databases, namely Oracle and DB2. So target for always for this third-party tool is going to be either DB2 or Oracle. That's it. Yeah. Now, why? Because MDM, what is the goal of MDM? To create a master data. That's all. So what do we do? Within either Oracle or DB2 database, what we do here is we are going to apply different MDM rules and then start generation of good data, which we call master data. Yeah? So that's what we do over here. Yeah. There's a question from Samson. Is the data from SAP or PeopleSoft static or dynamic? It could be both. Static in case if you go with a batch mode, dynamic in case if you want to go with what? Real-time mode. Both the modes will be supported by Hub. As and when third-party tool is ready to pull and push either in real-time or static or dynamic mode, MDM accepts that. Samson. Yes, we take care both. Yeah? So now the next thing is what once you get data onto this landing tables, next step is going to be what MDM starts. Yeah? So which means what are the different what steps that we all need to follow in order to what create a master data. To answer that, first and foremost step within this MDM Hub is going to be what? Staging layer, which will be used in order to perform the different staging operations where we can apply different data cleansing operations, and as a result of that we are going to what clean the data, like we have what enrichment, standardization or any other cleanup operation that you want, right? We need some data cleansing functions. So within MDM we have some basic data cleansing functions which are going to help us in order to perform what? Data cleansing activities, right? So that's what we do over here. Yeah? For example, we have string based functions, mathematical functions, logical functions, data conversion functions. These are the different categories of predefined hub functions that we have. So we can use these category based functions in order to perform what? Cleansing. Apart from that, we also have cleanse list, and we also have, which means cleanse list will be used to perform data standardization, and we also have integration of this particular MDM Hub with the third-party tools like a data quality, address doctor, CDQ, and so on. Yeah? But former versions of Informatica MDM, we call them as what Siberian XU versions, where they used to support more than whatever Informatica is going to support for now with respect to what? Integration of MDM Hub with third-party tools, because these guys, Informatica guys, they are trying to what I call emphasize more into their products, like especially IDQ or address doctor, whatever. They're trying to eliminate other tools as much as they could. That's anyways normal business, right? Anybody does that. Yeah. So apart from that, in case if the customer is not ready to buy, in case the customer is not ready to buy what third-party tools, then what do we need to do? We need to have a way to extend that. Yeah. So to do that, we have what? We have to write a Java code. What Java code in order to what extend the functionality. So how do you do that? So to do that, there is a template that is defined by the Informatica or Cyprian. We just need to know how to make use of that particular template, wherein you can write our own Java code and extend the functionality. I'll talk about one or two examples so that you guys could able to understand, yeah, to extend the functionality to this hub. Yeah. So these are the different ways through which we can perform what data cleansing activities. Yeah. Once we do that, next step is going to be what we have what other features, which is what, like we have data archival feature, so which will be used in order to perform what data archival. I repeat, in order to perform the data archival, we use what raw concept, you know, which means what, let us say we get data like yesterday's business, today's business, or hourly business data. Now, so we should be very careful that we create a good data, right? To do that in between, if something bad happens, so we should have a recovery mechanism. So that will be taken care of by using what raw tables, where we could able to what start performing the data recovery. For what? If something goes wrong either within this layer or in this layer or in this layer or anywhere within this particular hub layers. Yeah? So whatever, or if something goes bad or something goes wrong, we can always get it back from the raw tables. That is where we have what archival concept within this MDM hub. Yeah. Now, so in order to archive or in order to perform any data cleansing, what do we need to do? We need to start creation of another table which we call staging table, where we can build a mapping between what landing and staging. Yeah. So then within this particular mapping, we can start applying what different data cleansing operations, and then output of data cleansed operations will be stored onto a separate table which we call staging tables, right? So that's what happens just to start with. Yeah. Similarly, we have other features like a delta detection. So this is a what you call general feature that we have it for since several years, right? So what do we do here? As the name suggests, delta, which means a change. Yes or no? So which means what? If you have any change with respect to source system data of what was already processed in the previous what batch runs or previous business processes, then we can start making use of delta detection, through which we can identify only changes or new data, only such changes or new records will be transferred to what staging table. If the data which was already processed in the previous runs, right, then such records will not be transferred to what? To staging table. Clear, right? So that is what will happen with respect to what? This staging layer. Clear? Now, what do we use in order to identify delta, all that? We'll talk about it when we get into practical stuff. For now, we are just trying to understand the concept here. Yeah. Clear? The next is what we have one more feature, which is going to be what reject feature, which means what it's not always mandatory that we expect well-formed data from the source system, right? There could be some cases where we get what bad data. So bad data will be expressed in terms of what null or future date or some other what you call issues that we have from a source system data. Those issues can happen because of what? Wrong entry from OLTP systems or some other intentional business reasons where we get what? Wrong data or bad data. So how are we going to identify? So that is where within this staging layer we have what? Pre-built capabilities through which we could able to capture what? Rejected records. That's it. Yeah. So that is what we do in this particular staging layer to capture what? Rejected records. Clear? So these are the what basic features which anyway we are going to talk with practical examples. Yeah? So once we do that, next step is going to be what? Same process need to be repeated for other source system. Clear? Yeah, now the next thing is what we need to start following the same process in order to deal with what? N number of sources. Remember, the way we apply cleanse techniques for one source system which differs from what other source system. Yes or no? I repeat, the way we apply data cleansing for one source system which differs from what other source system. So that is why we need to build separate mapping for each source and start taking care of storing the data onto separate staging tables. So which means what? For each source system you will have what? Separate staging table. Yeah? And which will be used for what we call data lineage also. We'll talk about it as we go on. For now, we can just remember that we need to maintain what separate staging table for each source. That's it. This is the first thing we need to do within this MDM. Once we do that, then what did we discuss over here in order to what create master data? So let us say this is source system 1. We have what one staging table. Let's say STG1. This is what other source system where we have what other staging table, which is what STG2. Yeah? So once we have it, then what do we need to do? So what is the goal here? If we have merger, if there is a merger happen, then what is the issue we have? We might have duplicacy issue. So in order to identify that, we need to make these two records, which means what belongs to two sources, to be available in a single table, which we call what? Base object table. Yeah. So this is what we need to do in order to get started with what pulling the data from n number of staging tables to single entity table or base object table we call, or we can say subject area. That's it. Yeah. For example, in this staging table, you might have what? Customer data, address data, vendor data, supply data. So here also you will have many. But business says that let us try to emphasize on what to create a good data, yeah, what based on address only. In such cases, we need to get only address related attributes data from both the sources and then send it to what? Address base object table. To do that, we use what? Loading layer. Yeah. So which means what? Loading layer is going to help us in order to what? Load the data from multiple staging tables to single base object table. Yeah. I repeat, in order to load the data from multiple staging tables to single base object table, we use what? Loading layer. Yeah? So this is what we need to do in order to what? Get started with what? Loading part. Yeah? So fine, that's a straight load. So which means what? In case if you don't want any operations to be done while loading the data from staging to BO, base object table, we can what I call go with a simple pass-through load, a straight load from staging to BO. Just copy, nothing else. Yeah? So that's where the simple insert, or it could be for later loads, which means what? For subsequent loads. Yeah, there could be some record where there is a modification happen. In such cases, updates also can take place. Yeah? From staging to base object. That's all. Yeah? Apart from that, we have some more features like what? Trust, validation, all that, which anyway we'll talk about it later. For now, trust means what? Reliability. So how much you can rely on each source system. That, for example, we get this SS1, SS2 data. So how much you can trust with this particular source system 1 data, how much we can trust this particular source system data, and so on. If you have n number of sources, how much you can trust. That we can take care by using what? Trust framework that we have. Plus, if you define some number, let's say 90 or 100, whatever, right here, let's say this we just gave 90, but we got null data due to some reason. But this guy has got only, let us say, what? 10. So what will happen? This has got some data then compared to null, right? So this data should get survived compared to what? This particular data, which is null data. In order to what? Handle or identify such what you call records where there is an issue, right? So we have what? Validation rules, where we can define mathematical conditions through which we can downgrade this what? Trust value from 90 to 0 or 1 or whatever. Yeah? Once we do that, so we can make this particular value to be survived then compared to what? Null. Yeah? So that is what we do as part of what? Or by using validation rules. Likewise, we have lookup also here, which means if you want to load the data from staging to BO, belongs to what? Only one state, which is, let us say, Orissa state. Then in that, but we get data from AP, Karnataka, MP, Haryana, and so on. If we get that, then what do we need to do? We need to reject those records. So load only what? Orissa data. To do that, just apply what? Lookup, so that we can load from here to here based on that particular state data. Other states record will be rejected because the business doesn't expect that. That's it. So that also we have as part of this loading layer. Likewise, we have some more features like allow nulls, allow null foreign keys, all that. Those things I'll talk about it when you get into the practical examples of what? Loading layer. Clear, right? So that's it. Once we are done with that, next step is going to be what we need to start getting into what match and merge, because we got the data, right, which means two records or two sources data, we got into what, one table. Let's say this is a one table data. Then what do we need to do? What is the goal here? To solve the problem of duplicacy. To solve that, first we need to what we call identify whether there is a duplicate data belongs to crocin or any other medication or any domain that we deal with. So to identify that, we have what, different matching techniques within MDM, like a exact, fuzzy, whatever, which we discussed, right? We need to apply that and start identifying what duplicate records, like whatever we discussed over here. Once we do that, then, which means what, matching part is done. Then the next step is what, output of match, which will be taken as input to what, merge. I repeat, output of match, which will be taken as input to what, merge layer, where we convert n number of similar records to a single record. So that's where merge would come in. Once we do that, output of this merge will be kept it in what, base object table, remember. So that is why we can see what, target model, which means whatever model that we build is going to be what, based on base object tables. So the end result of MDM will be stored where, in base object tables. In this case, address base object table will have what, good address data for each customer. Yeah. So that's what happens with this particular simple data flow process. Read it, place it, cleanse it, load it onto the base object table, apply match and merge, come up with what, master data. That's it. This is a simple way to understand complete process flow. Once we do that, next step is what, once you create it here, we need to make this particular master data available to what, different applications or subscribers, right? How do you do that? That is where we have what, different consumers or applications. Yeah? So if they want this master data, then they need to go with what, this interface. Yeah. So we'll talk about this interface after a small break. Too much theory, right? We need to take some break. Yeah. Let's take a break for 3-4 minutes. Yeah. Please be there.